We all got secrets.
For all of my straight and bi men listening and my gay and bi women listening, everybody who has sex with women and wants to do better, I've got a product for you. Have you heard of Kenneth Play? He is an Adonis of a man, and he has put together a video course teaching others how to please women the way only he knows how. I have personally had the pleasure of spending an intimate evening with Kenneth. I don't think I've ever had a first-time sexual encounter with somebody that was just 100% pleasurable. There was never a moment of pain. There was never a moment of meh. He knew my body better than I knew my body. He found pleasure spots in me that I did not know I had, and he made me come many times. I have gifted his web course, Beyond Satisfied Pro, to lovers of mine, and in every case, they have become better lovers as a result. And now I would like to gift this to you with a 15% discount. Go to kennethplay.com/closeted. That link gets you 15% off Kenneth's Beyond Satisfied Pro course. This is just for my listeners. Trust me, no one regrets being great in bed, and this course will get you there. kennethplay.com/closeted.
We all got secrets. We all got secrets. We all got secrets. We all got raise a glass and bear your soul. Oven kept in high and served with bleach and Molitor. Oven kept we all got secrets.
Hello, Pine Cones. Welcome back to another installment in the Closet Ed Between Seasons bonus content. Whoa, whoa, oh. All right. So this week I'm doing something a little different. We don't have an interview or a personal story from me. We have me answering a listener's advice question. I recently put out a call for listeners to send me their advice questions. Occasionally I'll be answering one in a bonus content episode like this. And this is the first one I want to do because I feel like this listener, we'll call him Preston. Preston emailed me in response to the call I put on social media with a question that I feel like a lot of people wonder who have been married and monogamous for a long time. So I'm going to read his question. Preston says, my wife and I are in an interesting part in our relationship that we both consider monogamous. Interesting phrasing, we both consider. But after being intimate with just each other for 13 years, I'd consider that also monogamous. We have started talking more openly about our desires. We fell into a normal rhythm when it came to our sex life. They put normal in quotes, and I'm going to interpret that to mean slightly boring. Opening up about other desires seemed dangerous, and specifically on my end, felt like they could shatter the relationship. That's so real. People are very scared of that. However, after having honest conversations, I found that she had surprisingly been open to just about all ideas. Hey, somebody else was afraid to talk about their desires too. I love that. One we talked about was inviting another person into bed with us, for us to enjoy mutually. What is your take on the healthiness of this and the sustainability of it for a relationship such as ours? How would you go about setting healthy ground rules that make us all feel comfortable, including the potential third person? Love the consideration for the third person. How do you open conversations with people about this? Thank you for your help, Preston. Preston, thank you for your questions. These are really great. So this is a very normal thing. A lot of couples who have been together for a long time and are monogamous get bored. It's just a reality. And one of the ways to sort of address that boredom is to introduce some element of non-monogamy into the equation. That is not the only way, I will say. There are other ways to tackle sexual boredom in your relationship, and they include things like put some effort in, do date nights, get some nice music and candles and massage oil and treat each other. But I also understand how that can feel kind of tough when you've got things like work life and kids and finances and household chores. Now, I don't know if these two have kids, but a lot of people do. He never mentions kids, so maybe they don't. But it can be hard to put that effort in and to get excited about putting that effort in. I totally get that. Like I've been there. It can be hard to get excited about putting all this effort in to try to regain some kind of sexual spark. It can be hard to think that it's definitely going to work, you know? Another thing people often recommend that's not non-monogamy to spice up a sex life is toys. I do think toys can be very fun. Vacations can be very fun. Having sex in a new place can be very fun. Introducing an element of like, oh my gosh, are we going to get caught? That can be fun. Like you can decide to have car sex. Just like, instead of doing it in the bedroom, like drive to a deserted parking lot in the middle of the night and hope you don't get caught. What? There's all sorts of ways you can spice things up. But these two specifically want to try a version of non-monogamy where they invite a third person in the bedroom. Now, he doesn't say whether or not it would be a man or a woman, so I won't make any assumptions there, and I'm just going to address these questions. So first question he has is, what is your take on the healthiness of this and the sustainability of it for a relationship such as ours? Now, the answer, if I'm being really honest, is it can be healthy and sustainable, or it can be really unhealthy and really unsustainable, depending on how you go about it. So the first thing to make it healthy and sustainable is that everyone needs to be on the same page about what is happening, what is being explored, and what everybody wants, and make sure that those desires are aligned. It has to be an enthusiastic yes from all three people. If any one person is like, I don't know about this, I'm really scared and nervous and it makes me have bad feelings in my body, you might not be ready to actually go to bed with a third person yet. Now, that doesn't mean you can't explore if you feel that way. It just means you have to take it really slowly. The good rule of thumb here is go at the pace of the person who's the most afraid. All right? So until you have the hell yes from everybody involved, like the enthusiastic, yes, I want this. I am so excited. Let's do it. Don't move into the sex part of having a threesome. Stay in the going on a date part. Stay in the maybe we all kiss a little part. Maybe we fool around a little bit above the clothes part. Don't go all the way to taking off your clothes and having full-on sex with a third person if any single person in that trio is at all feeling like maybe this isn't a good idea. Everyone needs to want it. And that segues into making sure you're respecting that third person. Now, it already sounds like Preston and his wife are acknowledging that the third person needs to be respected. Like he says in his second question, how would you go about setting healthy ground rules that make us all feel comfortable, including the potential third person? So that's great. You want to make sure you're not using somebody as a fleshlight, like a human masturbatory toy. You don't want that third person to feel like they're just a sex toy that's being brought in to spice up your marriage. Nobody wants to feel like that. Like actually, that's not true. There are people who enjoy being objectified in that way. They're rare, but they're out there. And if you find one of those, then great. And they'll probably be able to communicate that to you very well if they're one of those people who's just like, I love being the unicorn that comes in and helps you guys with your sex life. Those people do exist. But barring finding a true unicorn like that, who wants to be objectified by a couple and enjoys that experience, barring that, you want to make sure you are treating this person as a whole person, making sure that they understand what you're going for, that they know what you want, letting them communicate any boundaries or ground rules that they might have. What I would say to Preston is it's hard to set healthy ground rules in advance of a situation like this because you don't know how you're going to react in the moment. You cannot anticipate everything that might happen that might trigger somebody in this situation. There have been lots of cases that I've personally heard of from people where they they're so excited to get into the threesome, and then they're there and it's happening, and then like the dick goes in the other vagina, and the woman freaks the fuck out. Or if it's an MMF threesome, 2 men and a woman, maybe the other guy starts fucking the first guy's wife, and then he freaks out, and he didn't think he would. Like you can think something's really hot in a fantasy, and then you're actually in it, and it's not what you thought. So it's a good idea to lay whatever ground rules you can come up with, One that I do find kind of obnoxious as a third is when married couples want me to come and, share a bed with them for a night. And they're like, but he can't do anything to you. He can only do stuff to me. And you can do stuff to me. Like, this is usually coming from the woman in a heterosexual couple. The guy wants the threesome with the 2 girls more than the woman does. And she's like, okay, we can do it, but you can't touch her. I'm going to say no to that every single fucking time, because that is not going to be fun for me. Why would I want to go be your fantasy and miss out on half of what's on display? I'm just not going to do that. Maybe there will be people who want to do that. Maybe you find like a nice lesbian who's just only into your wife. Cool. But like, if that's a stipulation on the table, just understand you're going to lose a lot of people with that. That being said, if that's your boundary, then let that be your boundary. Communicate it really clearly and respectfully so that the person understands what they're getting into and can say no if that's not their jam. For me personally, if I'm going to have a threesome, I don't want rules about who can and can't touch whom or who can and can't penetrate whom. That's just me. Other people might be more comfortable with different kinds of setup. Like, he can go down on you, but he can't put his penis inside of your vagina. But you can put his penis inside of your mouth. That's fine. Just make sure you talk things out in advance and set the ground rules that make sense for you hypothetically. And then have a plan when you're in the situation to check in with each other at every step of the way and make sure it's going well. So if you know that she was nervous about like seeing another woman with your dick in her mouth, but she said, I think I'll be okay, it's on the menu. When you're in the threesome and your dick goes in the other woman's mouth, make eye contact with your wife. Ask her, is this okay? How are you feeling? Make sure you are acknowledging her and the fact that she said in advance that she's not sure how it'll feel, but she wants to try it. Stay attuned to your partner in the moment so that if they do start getting triggered by something they didn't know if they'd be triggered by or didn't expect to be triggered by, you're right there with him. You can stop the action and attend to your partner. All right. So that's a good ground rule to have, is like, check in constantly, especially around things that you know in advance might be trigger points. Another idea that I have for Preston and his wife is, before you go onto an app like Field or start asking your friends if they might be down to have a threesome with you, one of the safest ways to dip your toes into these waters is to hire a sex worker. And a lot of people feel awkward about this because they're like, oh no, what will they think of us? They're going to love it, okay? Sex workers are used to having couples bring them in as a third. And it can be quite fun for a sex worker if they're being treated like a human being, which I am sure Preston, with this thoughtful email that he sent me, will do. Hire a sex worker, because a sex worker's feelings aren't going to be hurt if suddenly one of you is crying because something happened that triggered you, that you didn't expect. A sex worker is going to be kind and gentle and patient. And also, a sex worker poses no threat to your relationship. They're there in a professional capacity. So they know better than to, come in with any kind of expectations of like feelings growing or anything like that. They're there to get paid, to perform a service for you, and they will follow any boundaries or stipulations that you have to the letter because it's their fucking job. So that's the safest way, I think, psychologically and physically, is to hire a sex worker. If you don't want to hire a sex worker, though, and you, to address his third question, how do you open conversations with people about this? One fun way to do it is to gauge interest and openness by bringing up things from pop culture or popular media that includes threesomes or non-monogamy of any kind. You could be like, hey, I saw that tennis movie with Zendaya and those two guys and like all the tension and like the, I don't know. It just made me feel things. Like, did you see that movie? Like, did you feel things? You could do that with a friend just to see how open they are to even just the idea of a threesome. And if they're like, yeah, dude, that was so hot, I was really into it, then you know that maybe they would be into it with you. Yeah, it's funny. My wife and I were actually thinking about inviting somebody into the bedroom with us. And then just say that and then watch this person's face. And if their face lights up and goes, ooh, then you know that they have potential to be that person. So that's a nice way to open up a conversation. Gauge openness by bringing up something neutral on the topic of threesomes and just see how they react. And if it's positive, take another step in that direction. See how they react. If it's positive, then you have an opening to ask that person if they would like to go on a date with you. And that's my biggest piece of advice. Once you've got somebody that you're both interested in, and ideally it's somebody that you really are both interested in, and ideally is interested in both of you, that's kind of the hardest part, to find somebody that both of you are into that's into both of you. But once you've got that person lined up, don't just be like, come over, and like jump straight into sex. Start slow. Start with a date. Start, in fact, with a date where you establish in advance there will be no sex tonight. We are just exploring this dynamic. And treat it like you would any date with somebody new that you want to impress. Take them to the nice place, pay the bill, definitely pay for your third, whether they're a man or a woman, you are asking them out. Treat them to a nice night. Maybe go dancing, do something physical, take a walk, you could do a hike if you don't want to go out to a restaurant, but connect with them in a public setting the way you would with a new potential partner that you are actually treating as a human being. Let yourself flirt. Let yourself brush hands. This is really more for you, Preston and Preston's wife. It's also for them to feel comfortable with you, but this will allow you to experience the dynamic of engaging romantically and sexily with a third person without it actually being sex. And you can just like take it really slow. You can move from that date to, why don't you come over for a movie night or a game night, and ease into the moment of sex once you've had a chance to debrief from that first experience. Maybe you kiss at the end of that night and you see how that feels. Talk about everything immediately after it happens. Make sure you plan in time to debrief with each other after each step of your process. So if it's opening the conversation up with a friend, talk about it after it happens. If it's going out on the date, talk about it after it happens. If you had a first kiss, talk about it after it happens. Talk about everything after it happens. Make sure that you're both being honest with each other about how you really feel. If you're the more timid one, make sure that you let your partner know how you're feeling, even if it's not what they want to hear. And if you're the more enthusiastic one, make it safe for your more timid partner to be honest with you about how they feel, and don't be pushy. There's nothing sexier than a partner who says, is this okay? And then really listens to you and adjusts the way they're behaving based on what you say. All right. So the last thing I'll say about this is, with opening conversations with others about these things, it is a lot easier to do within non-monogamous and sex-positive circles. So if you go on Field, there are lots of couples on Field. There's even couples on Hinge and Tinder and all the apps looking for a third. Lots and 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 lots of couples are looking for a third. So it's not that hard to have, profiles on apps and start courting single people on apps. But if you do it on Field, you're a lot more likely to find somebody who's into hooking up with a couple than on any of the other apps, because Field is the app for non-monogamous people. Another way to do it that's not an app, and I prefer this, is show up to sex-positive and non-monogamous spaces. Ideally, ones where sex isn't actively happening, because it can be really intimidating if you're just starting to explore this stuff and you throw yourself right into a sex party and there's sex happening everywhere, like in Andrea's episode of the regular show of ClosetEd. I think it's episode 8. That can be really scary and intimidating. However, I have not lived in a city yet that does not have sex-positive, non-monogamous mixer events. Find one of those. Show up to one of those. You will find people who are already interested in what you're looking for. Opening up the conversation with them is going to be a lot easier than doing it with a friend of yours that you're really not sure what their comfort level is with any of this. So lastly, I already said go really slow. When I say go really slow, I mean tiny, tiny, tiny little baby steps. And here's a key thing. As you explore this, just like with single dating, expect that there will be awkward, uncomfortable moments at best and very difficult, emotionally overwhelming moments at worst. Expect that will happen because it likely will. It's part of the process. It doesn't need to damage your relationship as long as you know that's likely to happen and you're there with your partner to reassure them, to reconnect with them, to do what needs to be done to make sure that they feel safe. Somebody always gets triggered, all right? We're humans. We're humans who have been programmed to believe that wanting to fuck other people than your partner means that you don't love us, all right? That is the message of the monogamous paradigm. If your partner wants to fuck somebody else, it means they don't love you. It activates a fear of abandonment. It activates attachment issues like nothing else can because we've been programmed to believe this falsehood. The truth is most people want to fuck other people than their long-term partner. And it doesn't mean anything about the love they have for their long-term partner. Clearly, Preston and his wife love each other. Otherwise, he wouldn't be sending me this absolutely thoughtful email and broaching this very difficult conversation with his wife. So just know that those moments are going to happen and be ready for them. Be ready, if you can, with rituals that bring you closer together, with check-in moments, like schedule your check-ins, make sure you're checking in after every single step you take, like I said earlier, and you'll be just fine. Oh, Preston, will you get in touch with me after you've started exploring and let me know how things are going? I would really like to follow your story. All right. I hope this has been helpful for any of you listeners out there who are in the same boat as Preston and his wife. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of bonus content while I create season 2 of Closet Ed. Make sure you rate and review the show wherever you're listening. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at samia.mounts and follow the show on Instagram at closetedwithsamia. If you love this show and you listen every week and you enjoy me and the work that I'm doing, please consider supporting me in one of the following ways. Number 1, subscribe to my Substack. I'm going to be activating paid subscriptions too. So pledge a paid subscription when you subscribe to my Substack, samiamounts.substack.com. Another way to support me financially is to just send a tip on Cash App or Venmo. On Cash App, I'm Samia Mounts. On Venmo, I'm Samia-Mounts. A third way to support me, if you can't spare the funds right now to send $5 or $10 my way, share the show personally with 5 friends. Share it via email or text message. Share a specific episode that you really enjoyed or that helped you or that you think will help somebody you know. Share episodes of the show personally with your friends. 5 of them. That's what I'm asking. 5. Everybody listening right now shared the show with 5 of their friends and all of those 5 friends started listening. I would have enough listeners to attract advertisers. So please, please, please help me. I make no money on this right now. We're trying to turn it into a money-making thing. So that is a way, without spending a dime, you can help me make money off of this podcast so that I can keep making it, because Lord knows it's so much more work than anything else I do. Anything. The last way you can support me is by rating and reviewing the show. Leave a 5-star review. Write something nice about what you enjoy about the show, especially if you're reviewing on Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, you can leave comments on episodes. Leave comments. Engage with the episodes. If you're on YouTube, leave comments. Subscribe to the channel. And again, share. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you all so much. I will see you next week with another interview in my interview series. I'm having so much fun with those. And that's all for now. Stay saucy, pine cones.
We all got secrets.
Hear that? That's what's called green noise. I'd never even heard of green noise before I discovered the Better Sleep app. Now I can't imagine my life without it. As a long-suffering insomniac and a person with ADHD, hello racing thoughts, Better Sleep has changed my life. Green noise is proven to soothe the mind, improving both relaxation and focus. So whether I need to fall asleep fast or settle in for some focused work, the Better Sleep app has my back, and I'm not alone. Better Sleep has over 65 million downloads. It's been featured in the New York Times, Forbes, and Today, and is an Apple App Store editor's choice. And green noise is just the beginning. The app has dozens of relaxing sounds you can mix together in different combinations depending on your needs. Here's the best part. You can try it for free for 30 whole days with the link bettersleep.com/closeted. That's right. You can get a whole month of great sleep for free. For real, this app is the only reason I'm functioning right now. I used to be so tired. Go try it. bettersleep.com/closeted.